Hey, how's it goes, everyone? My name is Daniel, and today I just want to talk to you guys about the Hinderer XM-18. This is a 3-inch in the Warncliffe blade in the 20 CV blades steel. I've had this knife for, I would say, about maybe a year, maybe 2 years. And I love this. I've only owned like two Hinders, no, maybe actually three now in my lifetime. The first one was like the Skinner version of it. I didn't really like that blade shape, so I ended up like selling it, and then I ended up getting a Warncliffe, exactly just like this one, but it was like with a different scale color. I ended up selling that. I regretted it, and then I ended up picking up this one in that really just that vibrant blue. And I think out of all the blaze shapes that Hinder produces, I think my favorite is this Warncliffe, the straight edge Warncliffe. I think it's just super, just utilitarian. It acts very much like one of those box cutters, right? But yeah, I love this knife. I got this knife just as they came out with that tri-way pivot system. So as you can see in the flipper tab, that tri-way symbol. And I've actually tried it with all three pivot system. So when I first got this knife, it came with that ball bearing pivot, so I loved it. And and then I switched it out with the Teflon, and that was really nice too, just buttery smooth. And then now I have it on with the phosphor bronze washers, and yeah, it's smooth. I think out of all three systems, I love the ball bearing pivot systems the most, and then I'd go with this, the phosphor bronze washers, and then Teflon. But I know Hinder's known for, when they were, before, they were using a lot of the Teflon washers. But yeah, all three work really well. But I think my favorite would have to be the ball bearing pivot system. But yeah, like you see here, it flips out, really well. It has a really nice, strong detent. And even after having this knife for about 2 years, sometimes I still slip off of that flipper tab. And as we all know, we got that really aggressive jimping all over the place. So when you miss it, sometimes, it's a little bit uncomfortable, but I think now I kind of got a handle on it. Um, I do want to bring in some other knives for just to kind of compare the size and the girth. So this is the Chris Reeve small Sabenza 21 in that Insingo blade shape. As you can see, they're very close size to each other. They are very comparable. This is like one of my favorite all-time just everyday carry knives. And this is actually one of the only knives where I actually carry it with a lanyard and a bead, just because it does have a very special meaning to me. But yeah, but I love how it's placed, so it's easy to actually carry with a lanyard. Another one, this is the Chris Reeve small Sabenza 21. This is very similar and very comparable as well. And then I want to bring in the venerable Spyderco Paramilitary 2. It kind of dwarfs it. Not by much, but it still is a little bit bigger than the XM-18. So yeah, I love this knife. This is such a bulletproof of a knife. It just fits really well in the hand. I do have small to medium sized hands, so it does fit me all four fingers. I know people with bigger hands, that might be an issue, but yeah, it fits me just right. Either this way or if I use that forward finger choil. And it just locks it into my hand. It ain't going nowhere. And like I said, I really do love that Warncliffe blade shape, just because it does feel like a box cutter, and just the way this knife is designed, it really lends itself to kind of that cutting, that cutting, that performance, and just holding it like this is just fantastic. I just love this knife. Um, yeah, I do love like that kind of that stone washing on the titanium side of the scale. Um, and yeah, just everything about this knife is fantastic. The only thing about this knife is that when you try to take it apart, a little bit it is a little challenging because there's a lot of parts. I mean, more parts than usual, you know. So you got like these three screws, and then these pillars come out, and then you know, you have to, you know, that pivot comes out, and then yeah, it's just kind of like it's easy to take apart. It's a little bit harder to put back together just because you have to kind of hold, you know, these two screws in place because it'll just slide out. And then you got to make sure that, you know, if you don't have that Hinderer tool, it could be kind of a hassle to kind of take this knife apart and put it together just because, you know, you have to find alternate means to take this apart. So I think if you're able to get a Hinderer tool or something of that sort, it'd make your life a little bit easier. But yeah, generally I found that, you know, taking a Hinderer apart and putting it back together is a little bit more cumbersome than, let's say, you know, this guy. You know, this guy's like super easy to take apart and put back together. Another really easy knife to maintain is this guy here. Super easy, despite like that pivot. You could use like that wrench to kind of take it apart, and it's super easy to maintain. But yeah, overall, this knife is a joy to own and to use. I've carried it for a while now, and I really highly recommend it. I think what my dream knife would be this exact configuration, but with a really nice like hollow grind, because this knife is, you know, it does kind of carry a thick blade stock. So, you know, if let me bring a knife. Let me bring the 0562. Um, it's almost comparable to the 0562. I mean, I think the XM-18 is a little bit thinner. Another knife I want to bring into the picture, it'll be the Paramilitary 2, and I think they're pretty comparable, except, you know, the Paramilitary 2, it thins out at the very tip. This one is pretty thick, you know, all the way through. So it is the blade stock. It is a little thicker. It's not like the greatest slicer, but it is a great worker. So you might need to put a little bit more effort behind your cut, but it definitely will cut. And I mean, this 20 CV blade, the way they heat treat it, the way they grind it is, it's made to kind of be used hard, you know. And like I said, this blade shape really lends itself to more of this kind of a cutting task versus, like, you know, maybe more of this, you know. So piercing and kind of cutting into things in this fashion rather than like maybe like slicing through things, because it is, you know, it is a little thick behind the edge. But other than that, this is a really amazing knife, and I think it looks good too. And I love when knife companies can really merge the functionality and the aesthetic, right? So, you know, I think Hinderer does that really well with the XM-18. It looks really good, you know, has a really nice profile, and it works, you know, really well too, and it's just built to work. And so, if you're looking to get one of these guys, I highly recommend it, especially with that tri-way pivot system that they've developed. It's just, you get to experience three different flavors of a Hinderer knife. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's they all work really well. They all provide just enough of a experience to want to have all three. And I think Rick Hinder did a really amazing job just really developing this tri-way pivot system. And yeah, I really, really recommend it. Is there anything else? Yeah, I mean, there's no real issues. I mean, I think there's a reason why they've been in business for like 20 something years, man. They know what they're doing. They know what doesn't work. They know just you know, what the end user is using this knife for. They know what we really enjoy and what we don't enjoy, and they just put it together in a really nice package. And so, if you're looking to get a Hinderer, I would really recommend the XM-18 just because it's such an iconic, legendary knife. But I know they have a bunch of models out there now. I do want to eventually get the 3.5 inch, but maybe like in a spear point, because I think, yeah, once you know, I don't know if I want to have two like Warncliffe, you know, bladed Hinderers. I always like to try, you know, something new. But yeah, so this is the Hinderer XM-18 3-inch, and you cannot go wrong with it. There's a reason why this knife is a legend. just like, you know, you got the Spyderco Paramilitary 2, right? They just work super well. You know, I would put that in together with, you know, the Chris Reeve knives, man. You know, for sure. This is what a. I mean, there's so much history in just this frame right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys know what they're doing. You know, when it comes to just making knives and making like a quality product that will really last you for many years. You know, I've had this one for maybe 5 years now, and as you can see, it's worn in super well. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, please, man, if you can swing it, go ahead and grab yourself an XM-18, and you will not regret it. You guys have a good one.